Part 50. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 493. When the octopus beast arrived at the area where Luoxia and his team were, three beast shadows that turned from virtual to real appeared in the sky above the broken temple. One of the beast shadows was extremely huge, and it seemed to be several light years long, like a colorful long snake, its body hidden in the void, appearing and disappearing from time to time. The figure of this beast had not yet completely solidified, but it exuded an extremely terrifying aura. It can be clearly seen that the time and space around the long snake beast have gradually broken and returned to chaos. Obviously, this is a chaos-dominant beast. Luoxia stopped his steps into the temple, looked up at the three beast shadows in the sky and the octopus beast that came across time and space, and muttered, "These ghost things come so fast. Master, a chaos-dominant beast is here." When the world beast by D saw the long snake beast, the other party had not yet completely solidified, and the terrifying aura it exuded made him tremble slightly. Yakin was also extremely terrified. As a void true god, in front of a chaos overlord level existence, he is as weak as an ant. A thought from the chaos overlord is enough to kill any void true god. "Do you want to escape?" Yakin looked at Luoxia and asked. She really wanted to get the answer of "I want to escape" from Luoxia, but unfortunately. "You can't escape." Luoxia shook his head. "In the desolate time and space, the speed of the desolate beasts is extremely fast and can teleport. Unless we are very close to the time and space cracks and can quickly escape to the origin continent, there is no way to escape." Yakin's expression became a little desperate when she heard this. She didn't think that Luoxia, an eternal true god, could defeat a chaos overlord level strongman. The gap between the eternal true god and the chaos overlord is too big. Even if Luoxia's previous strength in the battle with the ghost crow god and the desolate beast was strong enough, Yakin didn't think that Luoxia could defeat the chaos overlord level desolate beast that was stronger than himself. After all, in this desolate time and space, it is the home court of the desolate beast. Roar. Finally, the three wild beasts solidified. They roared to the sky, making terrifying sounds. In addition to the chaos overlord level long snake wild beast, the other two wild beasts looked like a monkey and a wolf. The monkey wild beast had black scales all over its body, 6 eyes, a ferocious big mouth, 4 arms, 2 legs, and pointed ears. It looked very cruel and weird. The wolf-like wild beast had 4 long legs, and each leg had a sharp blade at the joint. There was a spiral horn on its head. On the horn, there were strange secret patterns, which were the secret patterns of the origin of the law of nothingness. The 3 wild beasts, plus the octopus wild beast that teleported from a distance, had almost no communication. They just roared and immediately rushed towards Luoxia and the others. "I'll deal with the dominant beast." Luoxia rushed towards the long snake beast, turned his head and glanced at Yakin. "Don't die." As for the world beast by D, Luoxia didn't think he would die at the hands of the beast. Of the other 3 beasts, 2 were of the eternal true god level, and 1 was of the void true god level. Among the void true god level beasts, the one with the appearance of an ape was the wild beast. Seeing that his master had already rushed towards the chaos dominant level beast, the world beast by D immediately rushed towards the other 2 eternal true gods, and said to Yakin at the same time, "I'll deal with the 2 eternal true gods, and the void true god level beast will be left to you." Yakin gritted her teeth and took out an exquisite and gorgeous longbow. This longbow was the Ice Amber longbow, a god king level treasure passed down by their Duan Mu clan. Yakin pulled the bowstring, and the divine power condensed, forming 3 ice blue bows and arrows on the bowstring. Swish, swish, swish. Yakin released the bowstring. 3 ice arrows immediately shot at the ape-shaped wild beast. They cut through the void and froze the time and space along the way. The cold air permeated, and instantly turned the area of millions of kilometers into a world of ice and snow. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 ice arrows quickly hit the ape-shaped wild beast. The ape-shaped wild beast almost instantly turned into a huge block of ice. On the other side, the world beast by D also fought with the wolf-shaped wild beast and the octopus wild beast. The fierce battle between the two sides was terrifying, and the stable time and space were broken. Although Bidi was fighting 1 against 2, because he was the king of the world beasts, he had the power of 1 billion world beasts in one body, and his potential was extraordinary. In addition, he mastered the origin of destruction, so when fighting against the 2 wild beasts who mastered the power of nothingness, he did not fall into a disadvantage. In a farther place, the battle between Luoxia and the Chaos Overlord level wild beast was even more terrifying. The battle scene between the two sides seemed to be the end of the world. Time and space were broken and shattered in large areas, and stars were cracking and exploding. The area where the two sides fought was completely transformed into a chaotic space filled with endless chaotic airflow. In this chaos and destruction, Luoxia's battle with the Chaos Overlord level wild beast became more and more intense. Luoxia's body was shining, and the power of various laws surrounded him. He collided with the long snake wild beast again and again. The attack of the Chaos Overlord level wild beast was as turbulent as a tide. Every whip made the space tremble violently, but Luoxia relied on his strong will and excellent fighting skills to resist wave after wave of attacks. At the same time, on Yakin's side, the frozen ape-shaped wild beast suddenly broke out of the ice, roaring angrily, and the cold air on its body overflowed, and it rushed towards Yakin. Yakin's face was solemn. She pulled the ice amber longbow again. Ice arrows shot out like meteors, and she started a fierce attack with the ape-shaped beast. Beast Badi was always at a disadvantage in the battle with the wolf-shaped wild beast and the octopus wild beast. The aura of destruction on him became stronger and stronger. Gradually, the strength of Beast Badi was breaking through and growing rapidly. The potential of the Beast King is at the same level as the original universe. The reason why he did not grow rapidly before was that Luoxia was suppressing him. If Luoxia allowed Beast Badi to devour the small universes of other true gods, he would definitely be able to break through and become an eternal true god quickly. Now under the pressure of the wild beast, Beast Badi finally began to grow rapidly. At the same time, in the ruins of the distant city, the wild beasts continued to wreak havoc, and the screams of the void true gods came one after another. Lord Manchi fled desperately, his heart full of fear and despair. There were 9 wild beasts, 6 of which were eternal true gods and 3 were void true gods. Lord Manchi and other strong men could not resist the attacks of these wild beasts at all. One after another, strong men are falling under the power of nothingness of the wild beast. The battle between Luoxia and the Chaos Master level wild beast has entered a white-hot stage, and the surrounding chaotic space is constantly expanding, as if it is going to swallow up the entire ruins. In the increasingly hot battle, only Luoxia, who is at the level of the eternal true god, can withstand the terrifying attacks of the Chaos Master level wild beast again and again. Suddenly, Luoxia burst out with divine power. Reincarnation. He found a flaw in the Chaos Master level wild beast, and instantly launched a fatal blow without hesitation. The sword light containing the origin of destruction and nothingness shone through the chaos, cutting through the endless rolling chaotic airflow, like the divine light of creation at the beginning of the world, directly hitting the long snake wild beast. The long snake wild beast roared in pain, and the breath on its body instantly weakened a lot. Yakin and the world beast Badi were shocked when they saw this scene. That's a Chaos Master level wild beast. Master is really powerful. Beast Badi laughed loudly. As the aura of destruction on his body became stronger, his pressure was reduced a lot even when facing 2 wild beasts. The situation on Yakin's side was not so good. Although she had the God King level treasure, the ice amber longbow, in her hand, she was no match for the wild beasts after all. In the process of fighting with the ape-shaped wild beast, she was always at a disadvantage and was in danger several times, almost dying. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo-Yoon Song. Chapter 494. At this time, Yakin's face was pale and her forehead was covered with sweat. She gritted her teeth and desperately pulled the ice amber longbow, trying to resist the attack of the ape-shaped wild beast. The ape-shaped wild beast was extremely ferocious, and every attack was powerful, making Yakin feel very tired. She secretly complained in her heart, but she had no intention of retreating, because she knew that once she gave up, only death would be waiting for her. On the side of the world beast Baidi, although he said that his master was powerful, he himself did not relax at all, and went all out to deal with the wolf-shaped wild beast and the octopus wild beast. The aura of destruction surged around him, constantly colliding with the beast's power of nothingness, stirring up waves of energy fluctuations. On Luoxia's side, Luoxia did not stop after hitting the long snake wild beast. He continued to use various powerful tricks, trying to take this opportunity to completely defeat this chaos-dominant wild beast. His figure shuttled through the chaos like a shining star. After suffering a heavy blow, the long snake beast became even crazier. It twisted its huge body and launched a desperate counterattack against Luoxia. In the chaotic space, the battle between the two became more and more intense. Luoxia's face was as cold as ice, with a cold light flashing in his eyes, and the divine power on his body was surging like a surging wave. His figure flashed suddenly, and he appeared above the head of the long snake beast like a ghost. The light in his hand was dazzling, and a more sharp sword light roared out with the momentum of tearing everything apart. The long snake beast's huge body twisted, and its blood-red eyes were full of ferocity and madness. It opened its bloody mouth and suddenly sprayed out a thick black chaotic mist like ink. The mist seemed to contain endless evil and nothingness, trying to resist Luoxia's sword light. The sword light cut into the chaotic mist like lightning, and the two collided violently, making a deafening sizzling sound, and the surrounding chaotic airflow was stirred like boiling water. Luoxia was not afraid at all. He danced his hands rapidly, and the divine light between his 10 fingers was swallowed and spit out. One after another, the divine light poured down like a torrential rain, and each divine light was like a sharp arrow. The huge body of the long snake beast kept twisting and rolling, trying to avoid these dense attacks like raindrops. But Luoxia's move was too fast. The power of the origin of destruction contained in it and the power of nothingness of the beast were the original power of the same level. The huge body of the long snake beast could not avoid Luoxia's attack at all. I saw the scales on its body constantly splashing under the impact of the divine light, leaving deep scars on its body with gurgling black blood. However, the long snake beast is a chaos master after all, and it will not be defeated easily. It swung its python-like tail violently, bringing up a suffocating strong wind. The strong wind contained the power of nothingness and swept towards Luoxia like a tornado. Wherever it passed, the chaotic space was pulled and distorted. Luoxia saw this and quickly retreated. At the same time, a light flashed in his hand, and a bronze tripod shining with millions of mythical beasts appeared. This bronze tripod was simple and heavy, and the phantoms of the mythical beasts on it were lifelike, as if they would break free at any time. Luoxia blocked the bronze tripod in front of him. With a loud bang, the 10,000 beasts tripod blocked the strong wind, but Luoxia was also shocked and his arm was numb, and even a trace of blood oozed from the tiger's mouth. Then, Luoxia sacrificed the 10,000 beasts tripod. Roar! Then the phantoms of billions of mythical beasts roared, and the sound was deafening, as if they were going to break through the shackles of chaos. The bronze tripod shone with a magical luster, and the phantoms of the beasts emerged one after another, each of which exuded the power of the eternal true God level, and rushed towards the long snake beast like a surging tide. The long snake beast also roared in the face of Luoxia's bronze tripod attack, and the roar was full of anger and majesty. Its huge body twisted in the void, and a strong force of nothingness burst out like a tide, instantly turning the phantoms of billions of beasts condensed by the bronze tripod into nothingness, leaving only a few fragments of light floating in the chaos. Buzz. At this moment, the chaos suddenly swayed with a strange wave. Behind Luoxia, a towering and huge star tree shone brightly. The branches of the tree were like giant pillars reaching the sky, and they were hung with bright stars. The 10 law fruits on it shook together, and an endless sea of laws descended, as colorful as a dream. Under Luoxia's control, the 10 oceans of laws merged and condensed, gradually turning into the terrifying law of chaos. At this moment, Luoxia used the means that only the Lord of Chaos could explode, and the endless power of the law of chaos formed a dazzling star. These stars lingered around Luoxia and the star god tree, and each of them exuded a heart-pounding power. Go! Luoxia's eyes condensed, looking at the long snake beast in the distance. The stars condensed by the power of the law of chaos immediately shone, and bombarded the long snake beast like a meteor. They carried the momentum of destroying everything. Wherever they passed, the chaotic airflow was stirred violently, as if to tear the entire chaos apart. The stars shining with the power of the law of chaos poured down on the long snake beast like a rainstorm. The long snake beast roared in pain and anger, twisting its huge body wildly, trying to avoid these fierce attacks, but the number of stars was so large and the speed was so fast that it could not completely avoid them. Because it was the power of the law of chaos, even though the long snake beast erupted with a more terrifying power of nothingness than before, it only blocked hundreds of stars. But Luoxia condensed the stars of the law of chaos, there were hundreds of millions of them. As an eternal true God with a perfect divine body and a small universe comparable to the original universe, Luoxia's divine power reserves were absolutely unimaginable to ordinary people. It could be said to be endless. With the support of huge divine power, the number of stars of the law of chaos he exploded at one time reached hundreds of millions. Some stars hit the scales of the long snake beast, bursting out dazzling light and powerful energy shocks, directly shattering the hard scales, leaving deep pits with black blood on it. The blood of the long snake beast flowed out, dyeing the surrounding chaos into a dark color. However, the long snake beast was tenacious after all. It endured the pain and released a more surging power of nothingness again. This power of nothingness formed a huge vortex, which drew the stars that approached into it one after another, trying to wipe them out. But Luoxia would not let it succeed. He controlled the star tree. The star tree shone brightly, and the law fruit on the treetop shone. A new batch of stars condensed by the power of the law of chaos were generated, and continued to attack the long snake beast. Seeing this, the long snake beast had a flash of determination in its eyes. It opened its bloody mouth and sprayed out a black beam of light. The beam of light contained endless nothingness, which collided with the stars, causing a shocking explosion. The chaotic space trembled violently, and space cracks spread. Luoxia was hit by the aftermath of the explosion and flew backwards, with a trace of blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. Soon, Luoxia stopped. The long snake beast in the distance was not in a good state either. In the terrifying battle between the two, even if it was a Chaos Master level beast, it could not get any benefits in Luoxia's hands. Luoxia took a deep breath, put his hands together, and then slowly separated them. A brilliant light bloomed in his hands. A long sword exuding an ancient breath gradually emerged in the light, and the sword was engraved with mysterious runes. Luoxia held the long sword, his figure flashed, and he rushed towards the long snake beast like a ghost. At the same time, the stars on the star tree gathered again, following Luoxia, like a gorgeous galaxy. The long snake beast felt an unprecedented crisis. It let out a final roar, ready to fight to the death. However, 9 turned profound art. 9 divine ring-like halos appeared around Luoxia. In an instant, his aura surged, from the level of the eternal true God to the level of the God King. At the moment when the aura reached the peak, Luoxia swung the sword in his hand. Clang! In the endless and grand sword sound, everything was broken and destroyed. The long snake beast could not resist the sword light that seemed to create the world. When the sword light came behind it, its huge body was annihilated inch by inch, and disappeared between heaven and earth with endless chaotic airflow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 495. The sword light was dazzling, splitting the chaos. When everything was silent, the Chaos Master level long snake beast had disappeared. As it dissipated and died, the endless chaotic space gradually collapsed and returned to the real world. Luoxia, with 9 divine rings lingering around him, appeared in the sky with the UN Embryo Stone Sword in his hand. He waved the UN Embryo Stone Sword in his hand, and suddenly a sword light slashed at the wild beast that was fighting with Yakin. There was only a swish. The sword light that tore through time and space directly killed the ape-shaped wild beast. Swish. 2 more sword lights slashed out. The 2 wild beasts that were fighting fiercely with the world beast by D were also killed. Master. The world beast by D looked at Luoxia with joy. In the distance, Yakin also looked over with a pair of eyes. Luoxia nodded, and saw the 9 divine rings surrounding him shattered and dissipated. His aura began to drop from the level of God King, and soon, it was only the aura of the eternal true God level. The 9 Revolutions mysterious art was created by Luoxia based on the core inheritance of the extinction secret method of the Duan Donghe lineage. It can instantly greatly improve one's strength. With his current level of eternal true God, he can forcibly improve his strength to the level of God King after using the 9 Revolutions mysterious art. Of course, this improvement is only for divine power. As for the perception of laws, soul realm, and other aspects, they cannot be forcibly improved. The 9 Revolutions mysterious art emphasizes, breaking all laws with force. We have to hurry up, Luoxia said to the boundary beasts by D and Yakin. Now this relic has been targeted by wild beasts, and there will be more and more wild beasts appearing. After getting the inheritance in the temple, we will leave immediately. The boundary beasts by D and Yakin naturally had no objection. They nodded and flew into the temple with Luoxia. There was no danger in the dilapidated temple. According to the information in Dark Star Destruction Strike 6, Luoxia soon found some black memory stones in the deepest part of the temple, in a hall that looked like a control room. In these memory stones, there is a complete method for making the Dark Star series of mechas. Of course, there is no record of the most powerful God King level mecha. It is not known whether the Dark Star God King did not have time to record it at the time, or because of the battle, the inheritance has been completely cut off. After getting the memory stone, Luoxia and his team quickly left the temple. As soon as they left the temple, they saw that the sky outside the temple was full of densely packed wild beasts. At a glance, there were thousands of them. Most of the wild beasts are at the level of true gods. A small number are void true gods. 3 wild beasts are at the level of eternal true gods. As for the wild beasts at the level of Chaos Overlord, they were not seen. It seems that even for wild beasts, it is very difficult to give birth to a Chaos Overlord level wild beast. Luoxia led the world beasts by D and Yakin to fight all the way, and soon returned to the ruined city area where the space-time rift was located. Here, they saw a lot of traces of battle. In the ruins, there were tragic scenes after the bombing of the Source of Law. What was surprising was that in this tragic battlefield, no corpses of the void true God and the eternal true God were seen. There were 1 or 2 corpses of wild beasts lying in the ruins, which were collected by the drooling world beast by D. The world beast by D, who possessed the power of devouring, could gradually master the power of nothingness by devouring the corpses of these wild beasts. I can't see the corpses of other people. I think they were all eaten by wild beasts. Yakin whispered. Luoxia nodded slightly. The information about wild beasts on the origin continent shows that this terrible existence that has mastered the power of nothingness can devour other creatures, thereby evolving and strengthening itself. Soon, Luoxia and his friends saw the space-time rift across the void, and also saw the dense wild beasts that were like locusts passing through. Around the entire space-time rift, there were all kinds of wild beasts. These wild beasts kept attacking the creatures of the origin continent who wanted to escape into the space-time rift. Many eternal true gods were injured by the attacks of wild beasts. As for the void true gods, they were like ants, being killed by wild beasts. Many void true gods were swallowed up by nearby wild beasts as soon as they died tragically. The scene was very bloody and terrifying. Lord Manchi and Yung Xiao of the Yun clan were in the team rushing to the space-time rift. As eternal true gods, they were desperately resisting the attacks of various wild beasts. Manchi, do you have any solution? He sacrificed his tortoise shell-like shield to prevent the energy laser from a wild beast. Yung Xiao looked at Lord Manchi and said, if this continues, we can't get close to the space-time rift at all, and we will die at the hands of these wild beasts. Lord Manchi was covered with scars at this moment, and the void power of those wild beasts was constantly eroding his body. Otherwise, with his strong recovery ability as an eternal true god, no matter how serious the injury is, it can be healed quickly. Hearing Yung Xiao's words, he smiled bitterly and said, what else can I do now? If most of these wild beasts were not true gods, and a few were at the level of void true gods, how could we still be alive? Yung Xiao sighed after hearing this. This is indeed the case. If it weren't for the sudden disappearance of the eternal true god level octopus wild beast, they would probably have died. But the current situation is also not good. Although the strength of these wild beasts is not very strong, there are many of them. If this continues, they will definitely die here. Yung Xiao is very unwilling. They haven't found any precious treasures yet, how can they die here? At this moment, a clear sword sound suddenly sounded. Yung Xiao and Lord Manchi looked up subconsciously, and saw a sword light that penetrated the sky and the earth split the time and space, slashing at the densely packed wild beasts like locusts in the sky. Rumble. The sword light was crisscrossed, no one could resist. When the dazzling sword light disappeared, the wild beasts in the sky were also destroyed. Yung Xiao, Lord Manchi. It took them a while to react, looked at each other, and hesitated, who saved us? This question just rose in their hearts, and 3 rainbow lights flew from the sky. Yung Xiao saw clearly that the 3 rainbow lights were none other than Luoxia, the world beast by D, and a woman wearing a veil whose face could not be seen clearly. It's him, Yung Xiao shouted subconsciously. Lord Manchi was surprised to see Luoxia and the other 3 flying into the crack of time and space. Hearing Yung Xiao's shout, he turned his head to look at him and asked, do you know the eternal true god holding the sword? Yes. Yung Xiao nodded with a complicated expression. He had almost died in Luoxia's hands because of Nong Wangkang's impulsiveness. Unexpectedly, Luoxia saved them at this time. Who is he? Lord Manchi continued to ask. Desolate beasts are very difficult to kill. Although the desolate beasts that appeared here are basically the strength of true gods and void true gods, because of their own power of nothingness, he and Yung Xiao could only barely block the attacks of the desolate beasts together, and they didn't want to kill them at all. Luoxia cleared all the desolate beasts in the sky with one sword. This kind of strength is too terrifying. Yung Xiao simply replied, his name is Sun Wukong, an eternal true god who has just come to our Moyun city. After that, he flew towards the crack of time and space. We can no longer stay in this ruins. If we want to continue exploring and searching for treasures here, we must at least wait for the wild beasts to disappear here, and this disappearance will take at least hundreds or even thousands of years. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 496. On the origin continent, outside the cracks in time and space. Mo Wuhan stood quietly on the top of a mountain, looking far away in the direction of the crack in time and space. Not long ago, many powerful people had escaped from the cracks in time and space one after another. From the accounts of those who had the chance to escape, we know that the ruins are now being targeted by wild beasts. If we continue to stay in the ruins to explore and hunt for treasures, it will undoubtedly be extremely dangerous. Mo Wuhan looked at the miserable situation of those who had escaped, and was secretly glad in his heart. Fortunately, he did not lead a team into it. Although he missed the opportunity to obtain some treasures, he still saved his life. Long Wangkang is dead, Yao Shizhen is also dead, Yung Xiao is still alive, but there has been no news, I'm afraid. Mo Wuhan murmured to himself in a low voice. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly saw three figures flying out of the cracks in time and space. He couldn't help being stunned. It's them. The three figures flying out of the cracks in time and space did not stop at all, and rushed straight towards Moyun City. Mo Wuhan looked at their departing figures, raised his brows, and said to himself, this eternal true God called Sun Wukong is really powerful. He was able to bring his servants out of the ruins safely. At this moment, several figures flew out of the cracks in space and time again. Yung Xiao, Mo Wuhan saw Yung Xiao, the eternal true God of the Yun clan, and a look of surprise and regret flashed across his face. He shouted, then put on a smile and went up to him, fortunately. Are you okay? Yung Xiao glanced at Mo Wuhan and said with a wry smile, it's nothing serious, it's just that most of the void true gods from our four major families have stayed in the ruins forever. What can we do if the wild beast appears so quickly? Mo Wuhan couldn't help but sigh deeply when he heard this. The true god is relatively easy to cultivate, but the void true god is extremely difficult to cultivate. Now that most of the void true gods brought by their four major families have died in the ruins, Mo Wuhan felt heartbroken. Speaking of which, how did you escape? Mo Wuhan asked with some doubts. Not long ago, Yung Xiao's incarnation of divine power suddenly collapsed. If he hadn't seen the star exploding in the sky, Mo Wuhan would have even doubted whether Yung Xiao had died under the claws of the desolate beast. It was Monkey King who saved us. Yun Xiao didn't hide anything and briefly described the situation just now. Then he looked around and saw no sign of Luo Xia, so he asked, by the way, where is your excellency Sun Wukong? He and his servants flew directly back to Moyun City. Mo Wuhan said this, but he was secretly surprised in his heart. Was it Sun Wukong who saved Yun Xiao? How powerful is this Sun Wukong? He actually killed so many wild beasts with one sword. Looking at Yun Xiao, Mo Wuhan thought to himself, Yun Xiao was saved by Sun Wukong, and when he goes back, he will definitely try to win over Sun Wukong in the name of gratitude. Such a powerful eternal true god cannot be allowed to be won over by the Yun clan. Have you gone back? Yun Xiao heard Mo Wuhan's words and nodded. Without saying anything else, he began to rectify his family's warriors and planned to leave here first. This ruins can no longer be explored at the moment. At least you have to wait until all the wild beasts in the ruins disappear before you can enter. Luo Xia quickly returned to Moyun City with Beatty and Yakin. He has already obtained a Chaos Dominator level mecha from the Dark Star ruins, as well as the manufacturing process and methods of the Dark Star mecha series, and there is no need to go back to it in the future. Master, what are you going to do with this mecha? Back in Rorschach's cave, Beatty looked at the huge humanoid mecha that Rorschach put aside while drinking wine and asked. Rorschach smiled and said, of course I'll fix it. I thought the owner was going to sell it, Beatty said. This is a good treasure, I won't sell it, Luo Xia said. Mecha, but a man's romance, how can you sell it? Yakin sat on one side and said with a smile, this mecha is so dilapidated that even the power source has been destroyed. If it weren't for the Divine Master's ability to rejuvenate, he could temporarily repair it and it would not even be used before. Neither can be done. After a pause, Yakin turned her attention to the Dark Star Destruction Strike 6 mecha, and then said, if the Lord God wants to completely repair this mecha, I'm afraid it will take a lot of effort and financial resources. I'm not worried about the expense in terms of mental energy, Luoxia said, I'm just a little short of financial resources. At this time, Yakin looked at Luoxia and said leisurely, if the Lord God is in need, Yakin has a lot of spare money here. Luoxia was slightly surprised and looked at Yakin. Can't you tell that this mysterious girl is still a little rich woman? After pondering slightly, Luoxia stood up and said, in that case, let's go to the Yanfen Guild Hall now. Yanfen Guild Hall, Beatty looked at Luoxia, Master, don't we go to Linkshu Treasure Pavilion? You can go to Linkshu Treasure Pavilion to sell things, but if you want to buy things, it's best to go to Yanfen Guild Hall. Rorschach said. Why? Beatty looked confused. Yakin explained on behalf of Luoxia, Yanfen Guild Hall was opened by the ancient country of Yanfen. They have branch halls in cities of various countries on the continent. It can be said that many rare materials and treasures can be bought in Yanfen Guild Hall. Luoxia continued, if you can't buy it in Yanfen Guild Hall, you will definitely not be able to buy it elsewhere. I want to repair this mecha, which requires a lot of special materials. I think only Yanfen Guild Hall can buy it. After explaining, Luoxia looked at Baidi and asked, do you want to go with me, or stay at home? I'll go with you. Baidi stood up, go and see the world. So the three of them came to Yanfen Guild Hall. Yanfen Guild Hall covers a large area and has many buildings. The decoration of its main building can be described as amazing. The scene it presents is even more brilliant and magnificent than that of Linkshu Treasure Pavilion. Entering the interior of the main building, the magnificent colors, dazzling lights, exquisite carvings, and magnificent layout all make people feel an unparalleled luxury and shock. In comparison, the splendor of Linkshu Treasure Pavilion not far away is directly inferior. As soon as Luoxia and his friends entered the entrance of the main building, a waiter took the initiative to greet them, God, please come in. Following the waiter, Luoxia and his friends came to a secret hall. Here, there are only 3 guests, Luoxia, Baidi, and Yakin. This is the treatment that the eternal true God can get after coming to the Yanfen Club. God, please taste it. This is Chunmai wine from our Yanfen ancient country. The waiter respectfully poured wine for Luoxia and the other 2. This Chunmai wine is a high-end wine in the Yanfen ancient country, and a glass requires several pieces of chaos crystal. In this Moyun city, you can't buy it even if you want to. Only when the eternal true God comes to the club will the club take out this wine to entertain. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 497. Chunmai Wine. Rorschach picked up the wine glass and took a sip. Suddenly, a faint refreshing taste spread in his soul consciousness. At his current state, ordinary wine can no longer make him drunk. Only this kind of wine that can affect the depths of the soul can still make Rorschach feel the taste of wine. And it is not easy to make wine that can make the soul drunk. The materials alone are not something that ordinary strong people can collect. According to the information Luoxia got from the inheritance of Duandonghe, the materials used to make Chunmai wine can be used to make treasures, and they can get the treasures of the void true God level. It was only because Yanfen Guild Hall was backed by the Yanfen ancient kingdom and so wealthy that it dared to entertain guests with this kind of wine. If it were the Linkshu Treasure Pavilion, only a Chaos Dominator level guest would be lucky enough to drink this glass of Chunmai wine. At this point, Luoxia finished the wine in his glass, looked at the waiter, and said, I came here today to buy some materials. Take a look, do you have any here? He pulled out a list of materials. The waiter picked up the list and glanced at it. At first, his expression was not very concerned, How could their Yanfan Guild Hall not have the materials that the guests wanted? But when he saw the materials at the end of the list, the waiter's expression became serious. There were at least 8 names of materials here, all of which he had seen for the first time. Things like jade sky gold, 4 symbols jade earth, Tianyang glaze, I have never heard of them at all. Frowning, the waiter bowed and said to Luoxia, Master Shen, please wait a moment. Whether our guild hall has some of the above materials requires our person in charge to know. Rorschach waved his hand, then take it to your person in charge to see. Yes, please wait a moment. The waiter stepped away respectfully. After a while, the waiter followed a middle-aged man with deer antlers on his head. This middle-aged man was obviously the owner of this branch, exuding the aura of the eternal true God. Your Excellency Sun Wukong, I have long admired your name. The visitor first saluted with a smile, and then introduced himself. I am the branch owner of this Yanfan Guild Hall, Yalu. Luoxia stood up and returned the gift, then asked, but there is a problem with the materials I want to purchase. He didn't expect that his list of materials could alert the branch owner of Yanfan Guild Hall. Yaluo shook his head. It's not that there's something wrong with your materials, but the 5 materials above are too special and precious, and we need to transport them from the general hall. The cost may be much higher, so I came here to inquire. How much is it approximately? Rorschach asked. Yalu said, if you decide to purchase it, the material cost will be more than 2 million cosmic sand, and the transportation cost will also be 630,000 cosmic sand. Is transportation so expensive? Luoxia raised his eyebrows. The transportation cost alone was twice the price of the red feather flying dragon he had sold at Lingxiu Treasure Pavilion. Our ancient country and the Jiayan Kingdom are separated by 2 divine kingdoms. The road is far away, and the materials are precious and special. The transportation cost of the 630,000 cosmic sand also includes insurance costs. If those are lost during the journey due to the poor protection of our guild hall, I will compensate you 10 times for the materials. After a slight pause, Yawan looked at Luoxia with a smile, so the transportation cost is not expensive. Luoxia looked at Yakin aside. He doesn't have enough money now, he still has to look to the little rich woman. Yakin nodded slightly. Yanfan Guild Hall can open branches all over the continent. In addition to its own strength and background, its reputation and reasonable prices are also one of the reasons why they can open branches all over the continent. Seeing Yakin's nod, Luoxia knew what was going on. He looked at Yaluo and said, okay, shall I pay now? You only need to pay 1/3 of the deposit now, Yalu reminded. As for the remaining fees, you can wait until you have received all the materials before paying it off in one go. Yanfan Guild Hall is not afraid of anyone who dares to have sex for free. Because they dared to have sex for free, all the people who cheated Yanfan Guild Hall are dead. Good. Luoxia nodded and signaled Yakin to follow the waiter to pay the deposit. Yaluo and the waiter were not very surprised by this. They only felt that Luoxia had left part of his property to the people around him to take care of it. They did not expect that Luoxia was eating soft rice. By the way, do you have chaos tokens for sale in your guild hall? Luoxia asked suddenly, looking at Yaluo who had not yet left. Hearing this question, Yagwan was stunned. Chaos token. He looked at Luoxia and said with a slightly complicated expression, if you wanted it before, our guild hall could sell you a copy at any time, but... After but, the eternal true God stopped. But what? What Rorschach hated most was people who spoke half-speech. Yaluo had a profiteer's expression on his face. If your Excellency Sun Wukong wants to know the information about the chaos token, you need to pay an information fee of 100,000 chaos crystals now. Rorschach. You guys are really good at doing business. Luoxia shook his head and paid the information fee. After receiving the information fee, Yaluo said, not long ago, our Yanfan Guild Hall did have 2 chaos tokens for sale, but since the news that the Chaos Dojo will reappear after 1 century, the 2 Chaos tokens, the cards, are all banned from being sold. Luoxia frowned slightly when he heard this. Sure enough, the news that the Chaos Dojo was about to reappear couldn't be hidden at all. He looked at Ye Luo and said, "Your information is not worth 100,000 Chaos crystals." Ya Wan chuckled and said, "I can give you a copy of the news about other Chaos tokens." "What news?" Rorschach asked. "I heard from people that not long ago, a divine light appeared in the vast no man's land, soaring straight into the sky. That divine light was emitted by the Chaos token. Many people have already gone to the no man's land adjacent to the border of Chayan Kingdom, wanting to found the Chaos token." Ye Luo said. "The origin continent is extremely vast, and the so-called no man's land is an area where few people set foot. Those uninhabited areas are a paradise for all kinds of powerful and strange beasts, and they are very dangerous." Luoxia glanced at Yakin, who was coming back, and then asked Ye Luo, "Do you have map information about the no man's land here?" 100 cosmic sand, Yalu said the price. Luoxia paid the money and got a map of the no man's land adjacent to the western border of Shayan Kingdom. He looked at it for a while and then wrote down all the information recorded on the map. "Master Shen, the deposit has been paid." Yakin walked to Luoxia and said warmly. Luoxia nodded, looked at Yagwan and asked, "When will all the materials I bought arrive?" "Because the Chayan Kingdom is far away from the headquarters Yanfan Ancient Kingdom, it will take at least 500 years for all the materials you purchased to reach Moyun City." Ye Luo replied. "Okay." Luoxia nodded when he heard this, then put the map away and said to Beatty and Yakin, "It's over here, let's go." Under Yalu's farewell, Luoxia and the others left the Yanfan Guild Hall. Walking on the streets of Moyun City, Beatty looked at Rorschach and asked, "Master, are we going to No Man's Land next?" "We'll go there after I repair the Dark Star Destruction Strike 6 mecha," Rorschach said. "Will it be too late and someone will take away the Chaos token first?" Beatty asked worriedly. "Wouldn't it be better to be found first?" Luoxia smiled and said, "The no man's land is too vast and extremely dangerous. If you want to find a Chaos token there, you will undoubtedly be looking for a needle in a haystack. If someone finds it first, we will go and grab it." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 498. In the following time, Luoxia quietly practiced in his cave, waiting for the materials to repair the Dark Star mecha to arrive. During this period, the 4 major families in Moyun City sent people one after another to invite Luoxia to attend some banquet, but Luoxia refused on the grounds that he wanted to retreat. Even when Yun Xiao came to visit in person, Luoxia did not see him. But Luoxia collected all the treasures the other party brought. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. He also learned the location of a secret realm from Yun Xiao. If there is a chance later, Rorschach will go there. At the same time, in the original universe, as time went by, the body of the God King of Jin was also discovered by the strong men of the universe C. On this day, all the powerful men of the human race gathered in the temple. Luoxia sat in the highest position. On his left and right hands were the original ancestor and the founder of the giant axe. To the side were the Lord of Chaos City and his eldest brother Luo Feng. "Rorschach, do you know what happened to the sudden appearance of the corpse?" In the vast and huge temples, after the presiding Chaos City Lord finished his opening remarks, the original ancestor took the lead in asking Rorschach. The reason why I asked Luoxia was because the original ancestor noticed that the appearance of this corpse was probably related to the original universe. The corpse of the God King of Jin flew towards the original universe. If this has nothing to do with the original universe, everyone neither would believe it. Since the corpse is related to the original universe, Rorschach, as the master of the original universe, must also know the origin of the corpse. Luo Xia first glanced at his elder brother Luo Feng, and then said, I do know some information about the corpse. The matter also starts with the birth of the world beast. World beast, the founder of the giant axe, heard this and said in surprise, didn't you destroy the world beast? Luo Xia smiled and said, founder of the giant axe, don't be anxious, listen to me. At that time, the original universe knew that the cosmic sea gave birth to world beasts in this era of reincarnation, and made a lot of preparations. This corpse is one of them, appears to enhance the strength of other creatures in the universe sea. After a pause, he answered the question from the founder of the giant axe. At that time, the original universe was not sure whether I could defeat all the realm beasts, so in order to ensure that it could defeat the realm beasts, it pulled in the universe sea. Got this body? What's so special about this corpse? The original ancestor asked. Rorschach said, in this corpse, there is a very ancient and dangerous world, equivalent to the fourth Jedi in the cosmic sea. If you can get inheritance in it, your strength will be greatly improved. So that's it? Through Rorschach's explanation, everyone showed expressions of surprise and excitement. Soon after, the meeting ended. But Luo Xia, Luo Feng, the original ancestor, the founder of the giant axe, and the Lord of Chaos City did not leave immediately, but stayed in the temple. I saw Rorschach uploading an extremely large and detailed information. These are: as the founder of the virtual universe, the original ancestor immediately saw the information uploaded by Rorschach, and his expression became extremely excited. The production method and process of the Dark Star series of armors. Luo Xia smiled slightly. As long as our human race thoroughly studies this information, we can produce many powerful mechas in the future. How powerful is this Dark Star series armor? Luo Feng asked curiously. Rorschach said, the information I obtained is enough for us humans to create a Chaos Dominator level mecha. Chaos Dominator level. Hearing Rorschach's words, everyone present showed stunned expressions. Rorschach and them had popularized the levels of powerful people in the origin continent before, so they knew very well what a Chaos Dominator level mecha meant. Of course, it is very difficult to create a Chaos Dominator level mecha. Cosmic Sea does not have enough materials for manufacturing, and if you want to fully unleash the power of the Chaos Dominator level mecha, you must at least use it. Only if you have the strength of the eternal true God. Rorschach said. Having this information is better than not having it at all. After hearing what Rorschach said, Luo Feng and the others were not discouraged. They also knew very well that if a Chaos Dominator level mecha was so easy to build, then Rorschach would not have been able to obtain such information so easily. Ancestor of Reincarnation, speaking of which, how did you obtain such precious information? The Great Axe founder asked curiously. Rorschach smiled and recounted his experience of entering the desolate time and space. Luo Feng and the others were frightened when they heard it, and they had a certain understanding of the dangers of the origin continent. But at the same time, they also yearned even more for the origin continent. Especially Luo Feng. After he practiced various secret techniques left by Rorschach, he became the #1 person in the universe sea. Nowadays, even the original ancestor may not be Luo Feng's opponent. Once the 9 revolutions mysterious skill is activated, Luo Feng can instantly increase his combat power to the level of the true God of the Void, coupled with the God King level Star Tower. Without an opponent, Luo Feng naturally yearned even more for the continent of origin where there were so many powerful people. Next, Luo Xia chatted with Luo Feng and others about some experiences of the origin continent, and then they dispersed, each going back to their respective divine kingdoms. 500 years have passed by in a blink of an eye. On this day, Ye Luo brought an eternal true God of the 9th level to Luo Xia's cave and delivered various materials he purchased. This eternal true God is the strong man who transports Rorschach materials. The other party didn't talk nonsense to Lodosia. After he and Yelodo took out the materials, they said goodbye and left. After Rorschach got the materials, he began to repair the Dark Star Destruction Assault 6 mecha. Rorschach's comprehension was not only amazing in terms of the laws of perception, but also amazing in terms of learning and mastering knowledge in other fields. Although Rorschach had not learned much about refining before. But after he read the relevant knowledge points and learned the relevant techniques, his amazing comprehension made his technical experience soar. It can be said that Rorschach is only one step away from becoming a master of refining. With his hard work, it took more than 1,000 years for Rorschach to restore the dilapidated mecha to its new state. Master, let me try. Beatty was very excited when he saw the mecha that was repaired like new, and wanted to try what it felt like to wear the mecha on the spot. Okay, I'll give it a try. Although the mecha has recognized Rorschach as its master, if Rorschach agrees, other people can also drive this Dark Star Destruction Assault 6 mecha. But Rorschach has absolute control over the mecha. He can deprive others of the use of the mecha at any time. Bidi flew to the front of the mecha, and saw the mecha burst out with divine light, and then merged with Bidi. Boom! The powerful aura of the Law of Chaos spread, and the whole Moyun city felt this terrifying aura. There were exclamations from several places. Yes, it's the Lord of Chaos. The aura of the Lord of Chaos. When did a Lord of Chaos come to my Moyun city? Could it be the Lord of Black Crow? This aura doesn't look like the Lord of Black Crow. While others were exclaiming, Bidi had already controlled the mecha to fight with Rorschach in the martial arts field of the cave. That is, the cave was big enough, and the mecha was reduced in size, otherwise the space in the martial arts field would not be enough for the two to stretch their fists and feet. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 499. In the martial arts arena of the cave, the vast space seemed to have no end. A towering humanoid mecha, which was even bigger than a mountain, stood tall in it. It was like a god made of steel, exuding a frightening pressure. Opposite the humanoid mecha, Lodosia released his size restrictions and transformed into a giant of almost the same size as the humanoid mecha, exuding a powerful aura and confronting the mecha. On the periphery of the martial arts arena, Duan Myokinja sat quietly, with a flash of expectation in her beautiful eyes, and focused on the master and servant who were about to fight fiercely in the arena. Boom! The battle began without any warning. I saw Bidi controlling the mecha and rushing towards Lodosia like a cannonball. The unparalleled speed brought a sharp sound of breaking through the air. In an instant, the two of them fought fiercely like two comets. Dark Star Destruction Strike 6. The mecha is as powerful as a steel mountain. Every movement of it seems to trigger a landslide and tsunami, with a terrifying momentum like a tsunami. When the mecha's arms waved, the air was compressed sharply, making a deafening roar, as if it could really tear the endless space apart. Its legs suddenly exerted force, and the hard ground instantly sank, and huge pits appeared. Its body was as fast as lightning, and wherever it passed, it set off a violent airflow, raging like a tornado. Rorschach's figure was extremely agile, like a ghost, shuttling back and forth and dodging in the mecha's attack, so fast that people could hardly see his figure. As he waved his hand, colorful laws of power shot out like sharp arrows, collided with the mecha, and burst out dazzling sparks, as gorgeous as fireworks. The mecha was not afraid at all. With its extremely solid body, it took on these attacks and launched a counter-attack with a stronger momentum. Its various weapon systems were activated one after another. The laser cannons, ion beams, and other energy-based attacks that contain the power of the origin of the law poured out like a rainstorm, covering the entire martial arts field. The light was so dazzling that people dared not look directly at it, as if it was a sea of light. Such an attack, if it fell on an opponent below the Chaos Lord, would definitely kill a large number of them in an instant. Rorschach remained calm in this violent attack, constantly displaying various wonderful movement skills and powerful secrets, and launched a fierce battle with the mecha. The two sides went back and forth, neither giving in. Every collision was like a thunderclap. The intensity of the battle made Duan Mukhinja, the only spectator at the scene, couldn't help but be amazed, and was amazed at Rorschach's strength. When she first found Rorschach, Duan Mukhinja only thought that Rorschach was a very special eternal true god. Later, after the ruins incident in the desolate time and space, she had another impression of Luoxia as incredibly powerful. From birth to now, Duan Mukhinja has never seen any eternal true god who can fight against the Chaos Overlord, especially in the desolate time and space. Luoxia even killed a Overlord-level wild beast. Now, she has even seen with her own eyes that Luoxia fights against a Chaos Overlord-level mecha with his own strength. Of course, because Baidi's strength cannot fully exert the full power of the Chaos Overlord-level mecha. But the mecha controlled by Baidi at the moment is enough to easily defeat any eternal true god. And Luoxia still does not lose in such a battle, and sometimes he can even suppress Baidi who controls the mecha. This incredible picture made Duan Mukhinja stunned. She simply didn't know what words to use to describe her mood at this time. Everything she saw now was simply subverting common sense. In the field, the battle is over. Ah, as expected, I still can't beat the master. Baidi was a little disappointed and dissolved the fusion with the mecha. Rorschach looked at him and smiled. You are still at the realm of the void true god, and you can't fully exert the full power of this mecha, so of course you can't beat it. Even if I can exert the full power of the mecha, I'm afraid I can't beat the master. Baidi muttered. Others don't know. As Rorschach's sole servant, how could he not know? Rorschach's strength is very amazing. He has all kinds of powerful secrets and treasures on him. When he bursts out with all his strength, he can even fight against the strong men at the level of the God King. However, although I can't beat the master, in the battle with the master, my understanding of the origin of destruction has improved a step further. Baidi said with a smile. This was said through divine power transmission, and there was no need to worry about being heard by Duan Mukhinja. It's good to see progress. Luoxia smiled and nodded, put away the Dark Star Destruction Assault 6 mecha, and continued, the mecha has been repaired. Next, let's go to the No Man's Land to find another Chaos token. Yes. Baidi and Duan Mukhinja nodded. After the three of them prepared, they left Moyun City directly. Sun Wukong left. Do you know where he went? I don't know. Speaking of which, this eternal true God is really mysterious. For more than 1,000 years, we can't find any news about him. Could he have come back from another dimension? Very likely. After the four major families in Moyun City learned of Luoxia's departure, they made various speculations. Over the years, they have never given up collecting information about Luoxia, but no matter whether they went to Yanfan Hall to buy it or ask someone to investigate secretly, they could not find more information about Luoxia, as if he suddenly appeared in the dark. And the four major families all thought of the creatures who entered the origin continent from other dimensions for such an existence without any information on the origin continent. In Moyun City, there are also one or two creatures who entered the origin continent from other primitive universes. But the strength of those creatures is not very strong. Most of them are void true gods of the third or fourth level, which is not worth mentioning on the origin continent where strong people gather. Only Luoxia is the most special. As soon as he appeared in Moyun City, he was the strength of the eternal true God, and he also killed many terrible wild beasts in the secret realm of desolate time and space. His strength is so strong. For more than 1,000 years, the four major families all wanted to win over Luoxia. If Luoxia could join any of their four major families, their family would become the strongest one in Moyun City in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, no one wanted to join Luoxia. All their overtures over the years were rejected. Luoxia naturally didn't know what the four major families in Moyun City were doing. After leaving Moyun City, he took Baidi and Duan Mukinja all the way and flew to the west of Shaying country. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 500. Traveling is relatively boring. Along the way, strange beasts will occasionally appear. However, due to the powerful aura belonging to the eternal true God that emanates from Rorschach's body, most of the strange beasts will immediately stay away like frightened birds after sensitively sensing Rorschach's aura. Because of this, Rorschach and the others moved forward without encountering any danger or experiencing any battles. They continued to move forward in this way. Along the way, they climbed over mountains and ridges and waded across rivers. However, on this day, when they entered a lush and deep virgin forest, they encountered an ambush. Quack quack. Billions of silver crows stood densely on the branches and in the canopy. Each silver crow had eyes as red as blood, staring directly at Rorschach and the three of them. At the same time, Rorschach discovered that the surrounding area of dozens of light years had been completely blocked in time and space, and a creepy and terrifying aura was slowly emanating from the end of the primeval forest. Luoxia narrowed his eyes slightly, stared closely at the silver crows standing on the branches, and said in a low voice, "Is it the Black Crow Society again?" Duan Mukinja frowned slightly and responded, "Sovereign God, the person who ambushed us should be the Lord Crow Feather, who is second only to the Lord of Black Crows in strength in the Black Crow Association." When Beatty heard this, he was full of surprise and said, "God Lord Crow Feather. I remember you said that this is an eternal true God who has reached the 10th level of strength and is only one step away from becoming the master of chaos. I didn't expect you to know me." At this moment, a faint voice came, and then, a white-haired man wearing silver crow feathers slowly walked over. Every step he took was firmly in the void, and every step he took a silver crow feather will magically appear under its feet. The visitor has long flowing white hair and a tightly closed vertical eye between his eyebrows. As for other parts, his appearance is almost the same as that of a human being. His face is even more handsome, and he exudes a kind of aura. Elegant and unique temperament. Beatty stared closely at this guy who was strutting in on silver crow feathers, secretly cursing in his heart that this was a pretender, and then frowned and asked loudly, "Are you here for the chaos token too?" At this time, Lord Crow Feather stood quietly in the void. Gradually, the densely packed hundreds of millions of silver crows around him disappeared like phantoms. Only an extremely handsome silver crow gradually solidified on his shoulder, and its pair of blood-red eyes stared coldly at Luoxia and the others without a trace of emotion. "The chaos token is just a side benefit to me. My only purpose in coming here this time is to ruthlessly take away your lives," Lord Crow Feather said indifferently with an expressionless face. As his words fell slowly, 10 ghostly void gods dressed in black crow robes appeared on the branches behind Crow Feather God. They were like the deadly god of death that suddenly appeared in the darkness, with a suffocating sense of death pressure. They looked at Rorschach and the others coldly, as if they were looking at a group of lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Each of these 10 true gods of the void possesses the strength of the 10th level. They are all powerful beings who are just one step away from successfully entering the realm of the eternal true God. "Master, I hate pretending the most," Beatty said coldly. Before he finished speaking, he couldn't wait to launch a swift and violent attack on Lord Crow Feather. He raised his hand and stretched out suddenly, and the torrent of energy containing the power of violent destruction immediately bombarded the Lord Crow Feather like a frenzy. "Gah!" A sharp and piercing cry suddenly sounded. The silver crow on the shoulders of Crow Feather God suddenly let out a wild scream, and then, endless silver wings emerged quickly like a tide, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a pair of extremely huge silver wings, like an indestructible shield. Standing firmly in front of Lord Crow Feather, the torrent of energy burst out by Beatty bombarded the silver wings like a furious wave, but what was shocking was that this powerful force could not shake it at all. Kill them. After successfully blocking Beatty's attack, Lord Crowfeather spoke indifferently with an expressionless face. In an instant, the void true gods behind him rushed towards Beatty and Duan Mukinja like hungry wolves. At the same time, the pair of huge wings in front of Crowfeather Divine Lord instantly turned into thousands of sharp blades flashing with cold light, flying toward Luoxia like a gust of wind and rain. Tisk Luoxia looked at the crow-feathered blade with indifferent eyes, and couldn't help but tut, I also hate pretending. In the short interval of speaking, 16 black chaos star irons appeared out of thin air like ghosts, and then floated quietly around Luoxia. Whoosh! Whoosh! Accompanied by a rapid sound of breaking through the sky, under Rorschach's exquisite control, the 16 Chaos Sky Star Irons quickly rotated and turned into a violent black storm in the blink of an eye. Those crow-feathered blades flew like moths to a flame, and were ruthlessly crushed by the black storm in an instant, unable to pose even the slightest threat to Rorschach. Lord Crowfeather naturally knew that his crow-feather blade could hardly cause substantial damage to Rorschach. In the final analysis, this attack was just a simple test and used as bait. Almost at the moment when the crow-feather blade was ruthlessly crushed by the black storm, the figure of the crow-feather lord disappeared instantly, and the next moment he appeared behind Luoxia very abruptly. He held a crow-feather-shaped sword blade engraved with silver mysterious patterns, and stabbed Luoxia fiercely like lightning. Ding! At this extremely critical moment, a piece of Chaos Star Iron appeared in time as if teleporting, accurately blocking the fierce attack of the crow-feather lord. You also use a sword, Luoxia smiled with a slight smile, and his expression seemed relaxed and indifferent. The crow-feather lord turned a deaf ear to Luoxia's words and did not answer. His face was indifferent, and the sword in his hand was like a storm, attacking Luoxia frantically with violent momentum. Unfortunately. Ding 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 ding. Every attack of the crow-feather lord was steadily blocked by Luoxia's exquisite control of the Chaos Star Iron. That's all you can do. Rorschach sneered, and the Chaos Star Iron, which had been in a defensive posture, suddenly paused, and then instantly burst out with a terrifying will impact. Boom! Wrapped up by this powerful will impact, Lord Crowfeather seemed to see an endless sea of blood and corpses in an instant. In that scarlet and dim world, Rorschach was like the supreme creator god, hanging high above the sky. He placed his hands on his chest and clenched them, and bright stars shone in his hands. Soon, he seemed to have really mastered the entire universe, and endless starlight continued to flow in his hands. The divine feathers flapped their wings and moved the 9 heavens. At this moment, Lord Crowfeather suddenly raised the divine sword in his hand, and endless silver crow feathers quickly gathered behind him like a tide, and in the blink of an eye, they formed a pair of huge and boundless silver wings. The next moment, he swung the magic sword in his hand vigorously, and a dazzling silver sword light wrapped around the huge wings, like a silver torrent, bombarding Rorschach, who was hanging high in the sky like the creator god, with an overwhelming force. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 501. The vast sword light with silver wings rushed into the sky like a silver dragon, as if it was going to cut the world apart and destroy everything. However, Luoxia, who was hanging above the sky, still had a calm and solemn expression. Facing the terrifying sword light that was shooting at him, he gently flipped his hands above, and the cosmic stars that were originally floating between his hands began to spin and then fell down. As the group of cosmic stars fell, its volume gradually increased, and soon it completely occupied all the vision of the crow-feather god below. At this moment, it was as if an endless and huge universe was crushing him. Boom! The sword light with silver wings hit the group of cosmic stars that had replaced the sky fiercely. There was only a loud bang, and the cosmic stars shook slightly. Several of them exploded due to the impact of the sword light, but that was all. The sword light of the crow feather god could not shake this group of stars and universe at all. When the stars in the universe completely devoured his sword light, in the vision of Lord Crow Feather, only the vast and infinite universe remained. The next moment, his consciousness and soul were ruthlessly devoured by this group of stars in the universe. At the moment of being devoured, the boundless stars began to spin rapidly, turning into a sharp and terrifying vortex, completely obliterating Lord Crow Feather's soul and consciousness. This is not a real battle. In fact, from the moment the will of chaos Tianxing iron broke out, Luoxia had already pulled Lord Crow Feather's soul and consciousness into another level of battle. This is a fierce battle between souls. Generally speaking, the soul strength of each living being is usually closely linked to the strength of its own body. If one is already an eternal true God, then the strength of his soul will probably be at the level of an eternal true God. However, there are also a small number of strong people whose soul will is far stronger than their soul and their own body. Just like Luo Feng, although he is only the Lord of the universe at the moment, his own soul will strength has already reached the level of the strongest in the universe through various terrible tempering processes. The soul strength of Lord Crow Feather is at the level of the eternal true God. However, Luoxia's soul strength is not like this. Although there is no direct evidence to show it so far, from some past experiences, his soul is undoubtedly extremely terrifying, and it is far beyond his physical strength. A strong soul naturally brings more terrible will strength and comprehension talent. As for how strong Luoxia's soul is, he himself is actually not clear. But one thing is very certain, that is, his soul strength is definitely stronger than that of the God King. It can be said that in the battle at the soul level, Luoxia is crushing Lord Crow Feather, that is invincible. With the obliteration and destruction of Lord Crow Feather's soul, in reality, the originally majestic and handsome body of the God King instantly turned into a cold corpse. Luoxia slowly opened his eyes, and 16 black chaotic star irons formed a mysterious and complex formation, surrounding the Crow Feather God. The will impact storm they exuded was so strong that it affected reality and turned into a real black storm. The black storm wantonly wrapped the body of the Crow Feather God. Not far away, the other void true gods of the Black Crow Society almost noticed that the Crow Feather God's soul had lost its breath at the moment of its annihilation, and they all showed a look of horror. From their perspective, they only saw Luoxia's 16 black iron rods trembling together, and then a huge and terrifying black storm quickly formed, wrapping the body of the Crow Feather God. They were still looking forward to the Crow Feather God being able to break through the black storm. But the reality is that the victory or defeat was decided in an instant. How is it possible? God, how could God die? No. The 10 void true gods who were besieging the beast by Di and Duan Mukinja were all in disbelief. Their extremely powerful Vice President Yeo Divine Lord, whose strength was second only to the President, died so easily. There was no earth-shattering battle, no fierce scene of various secret methods and the source of the law colliding with each other. Yeo Divine Lord didn't even have time to use his most powerful God Feather shocking sword, but he died inexplicably. The 10 void true gods felt that their minds were shaken violently as if they had suffered a heavy blow, so that they even made serious mistakes in their joint efforts to besiege Baidi and Duan Mukinja. Baidi instantly seized this rare opportunity, and his divine power burst out, and the dark star ring blade in his hand shone with an extremely dazzling starlight. He swung the dark star ring blade vigorously, tearing through layers of space, and in an instant, he accurately cut one of the void true gods. The void true god was severely injured, and his body fell from the air like a kite with a broken string. Duan Mukinja, who was holding the ice amber longbow, quickly seized this opportunity and immediately drew the bowstring. The ultimate ice source power quickly condensed into an ice blue arrow on the bowstring. Whoosh! The ice arrow flew through the air, and the space along the way was instantly frozen like glass, and even tiny cracks appeared. Looking for death. Beatty's sudden show of power startled the void true gods of the Black Crow Society, and they quickly gathered their minds. Seeing Duan Myokinja attacking the injured companion, one of the void true gods immediately burst out with divine power. The black divine power instantly turned into huge black wings, steadily blocking the ice blue arrow. Let's go. After successfully rescuing their companions, these void true gods immediately had the idea of escape. Even the Lord Crow Feather has fallen. If they continue to stay, I am afraid they will have to hand over their lives here. However, just when they all turned into rainbow light and prepared to fly away quickly into the distance, 10 dark threads caught up with them in an instant. Along with the subtle sound of shishi, these true gods of the void were instantly penetrated into the hearts of the true gods, and their souls were also destroyed. The gods' bodies instantly turned into cold corpses, falling straight from the sky like headless flies. Down. Come when you want, leave when you want. Do you think this assassination is a treat for dinner? Luoxia muttered, waved his hand, and collected the bodies of Lord Crow Feather and the other 10 true gods of the void. Speaking of which, there are quite a few corpses in his space right now. The corpses of Lord Ghost Crow and several true gods of the void had been collected before, and this time Lord Crow Feather brought 10 true gods of the void to die. This black crow would be too polite to him. At the same time, in the towering dark temple, the Lord of Darkness sits on the throne, his eyes cold and deep. He looked into the void, looking directly through layers of space and time, and saw the destruction of a small universe. As expected, Crow Feather failed just like Ghost Crow. It seems that the destiny of revelation has really begun. When the endless wings fall, the crows neigh, and the flowers on the other side bloom, the palace that transcends all will open. Accompanied by this unknown murmuring sound. In the dark temple, the crows suddenly opened their scarlet eyes and screamed one after another. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 502. On Luoxia's side, after successfully killing the attacking Crow Feather Lord and others, they continued to move forward. He carefully searched Crow Feather Lord's body and obtained 3 priceless treasures. One of them was a sword blade that looked like wings. Judging from its quality, it should be the best treasure among the eternal true god level treasures, containing great power. Luoxia threw it to the world beast Beatty. Among the other 2, one was the silver feather god cloth, which was a defensive treasure and also belonged to the eternal true god level, but compared with the winged sword, its quality was 1 level lower. And the last one was a pair of Lingyu treading boots, which was also a treasure of the eternal true god level and possessed the powerful power of the origin of wind. After wearing it, the movement speed can be significantly increased, and wings can be generated under the feet during the stepping period. These wings have special functions and can mark time and space. When using the power of the boots, you can force the stars to move and achieve displacement. Luoxia gave these 2 treasures to Duan Myokinja, the rich woman helped him repair the Chaos Overlord level mecha, and the 2 treasures were a return gift. The territory of Shayin State is vast and boundless, beyond imagination. If Luoxia and his team want to go to the western border, they must at least go to Lihao City, the main city of Lihao Chaos State, to teleport to reach their destination quickly. They traveled all the way and arrived at Lihao City after nearly 5 years. Compared with Moyun City, Lihao City is like a town compared to a city. The gap between the two is obvious and extremely disparate. Master, we are in Lihao City. Looking at the Lihao City in front of him, which is more magnificent than Moyun City, the world beast Bai Di couldn't hide his excitement and said excitedly. Luoxia nodded and walked towards the city. The world beast Bai Di and Duan Myokinja followed him. The 3 of them slowly entered Liwi City. All kinds of strange creatures can be seen coming and going in the city, some with horns on their heads, some with special rocks all over their bodies, some creatures made entirely of elements of heaven and earth, Those alien creatures that are hard to see in Moyun City can be seen here. The aura emitted by these alien creatures is not weak. Luo Xia sensed it and found that most of them were in the realm of the void true god, and there were also 2 or 3 eternal true gods mixed in. Do you know where this teleportation array is? Although Liwi City is extremely prosperous, Luo Xia has no intention of staying here for long. Hearing Luo Xia asking himself, Duan Mukinja shook her head gently. I have never been to Liwi City, and I don't know where the teleportation array is. It seems that I can only ask someone, Luo Xia said. When the boundary beast Beatty next to him heard this, he immediately asked the pedestrians on the side. Soon, he came back and said, Master, I have already found out that the teleportation array is in the center of Lihu City. Huh? The center of the city? Luo Xia looked puzzled. Isn't that where the city lord's mansion is located? Not far from the city lord's mansion, there is a Xin Huan Tower. Bai Di had already found out the situation very clearly, and answered clearly at this time, the Xin Huan Tower can be used for teleportation, but the cost is extremely expensive. The farther you want to teleport, the higher the cost. Okay, let's go to the city center to have a look, Luo Xia said. At that moment, they headed towards the center of Lihu City. Soon, they saw the towering and huge city lord's mansion, and a tower that seemed to be able to pick stars, located not far from the city lord's mansion. The world beast Bai Di pointed to the tall tower and said, Master, that is the Xin Huan Tower. Luo Xia looked in the direction he pointed and found that the tower was soaring into the sky, with at least 99 floors. They flew towards the tower. Before flying close to the tower, you can see many people coming in and out of the tower. Some of these people look like a team, with a scale of thousands of people, and some look like lone rangers, with a strong and powerful aura. They should all be teleported from various places by Xin Huan Tower, or want to use this place to teleport to other places. Entering the tower, a waiter with a human appearance came to meet this god. Do you want to teleport to another place? Luo Xia nodded. I want to go to Liu City in Beimuzhu. The waiter smiled and said, recently, many people have gone to Beimuzhu. Please go to the 97th floor of Xin Huan Tower by yourself. Someone will entertain you then. Okay. Luo Xia nodded and responded, and under the guidance of the waiter, he flew directly from the lobby of the tower to the top. Not long after, he arrived at the 97th floor. He discovered that there was a kind of restriction on the 96th floor of Xin Huan Tower. One needed to reach a certain level of aura to break through the restriction and enter the corresponding floor. For example, on the 98th floor, one needed to reach the level of Chaos Master to enter. Luo Xia brought Bai Di and Duan Mukinja to the 97th floor corridor. Immediately, a beautiful waitress came forward and saluted respectfully, Welcome, Lord God. May I ask if you are going to Liu City in Beimu Chaos State? It seemed that the waiter below had informed the waiter on this floor of the destination that Luo Xia and his friends were going to through some special means. Luo Xia nodded. So the waitress guided Luo Xia and his 3 friends into a separate room. This was a privilege that only the eternal true God and above could enjoy. As for the true God of the void and the true God, if they want to teleport, they can only do it in large groups together. This kind of differential treatment is like the difference between special planes and ordinary planes on Earth. Very realistic. Will Shenjun leave immediately? After entering the room, the waitress asked again. Rorschach nodded. The waitress then guided, Master God, please sit down over there, and I will teleport you immediately. Rorschach followed her instructions and sat on a gorgeous and exquisite huge throne. Immediately afterwards, I saw the waitress taking out a colorful crystal stone from her own unique space. She inserted the crystal stone into a strange device in the room. The next moment, invisible space fluctuations spread like ripples in a lake. In Rorschach's clear perception, this space node vaguely resonates with an endlessly distant space node. I wish the Lord God a smooth and happy journey. Amidst the respectful blessings of the waitress, Rorschach and the others disappeared into the room in an instant amid spatial fluctuations. After Rorschach and the others disappeared, the waitress dared to stand up and slowly exited the room, only to hear her murmuring to herself. There are too many people going to Bama Chaos State recently. These are the 22nd Eternal True God who are going to Luyu City in the past 2 years. Not long ago, even Lihaha passed through the upper level. The teleportation went to Luyu City.